life is an arcade. I wanna play every single game. These bright lights are making my heart race. Let's go.
Yo, everybody, welcome back. Authentic Vibes Only podcast. Another fucking amazing guest today. It's incredible. In the few short, year where we've become who we've had on, and I'm excited to have another guest, Sumi here, the Thoughtcast. We're going to get straight into it. I'll thank my sponsors here real quick. We have JW's Third Base, Rock Falls. Check them out if you're hungry. Same thing, Candlelight Inn in Rock Falls, Sterling. They've been huge for me. One Take Videography. If you need any video or photo, get a hold of them, and we'll get going. And then, as always, the Authentic Vibes Only podcast is brought to you by the Authentic Vibes Only brand, where we teach you to be yourself, be you for you, and we'll be dropping more clothes coming soon. This is a new sample, so we're excited for that. And let's get straight into it with Sumi. Exactly what Sumi does and who his authentic version of himself is. That's where we start with every guest. So, Sumi, what do you exactly do? Let the people know, and then let them know more about your authentic self.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. So, I do a lot of random things. I get this question a lot. When you first meet somebody, they always ask you, hey, what do you do? It's always a difficult question for me to answer because there's so many things that I have my hand in, and a lot of them don't actually line up with one another. They're not coordinated in any way. So I do a lot of digital marketing. I own a consulting company, which is effectively the Thoughtcast. We work with people all over the world in their relationships, their mental health, if they have addictions, business, marketing, different types of coaching. Because what we do at Thoughtcast is really trying to allow people to grow in all areas of life, not to neglect one or just hyper-focus on one area. Because when you hyper-focus on one, you end up neglecting others, which causes you to lose in other areas. And then I also own a financial firm where we handle insurance, healthcare, and retirement. And then I have equity in a lot of businesses like restaurants. We have equity in like 14 restaurants right now. We do a lot of random stuff here. So I'm just a general businessman. Thoughtcast really is a passion project for me, and that's honestly what I'm most excited about.
Okay, so with the Thoughtcast, it sounds like I think that's why I was watching. Like, I've followed you for a while, for over the last year, and then we got you on here. But I like that about the Thoughtcast because it's just like a very similar like mission / view here. Is like we try to help people grow in other areas of lives, like not just one focus. So it's nice, like we always bring guests on from different avenues, like we bring in musicians, coaches, personal trainers, everything to try to balance all that out. So I like that as well with the Thoughtcast. But when it came to beginning the Thoughtcast, like I'm sure there was something always in your life probably that was saying to you, like, what's next, or like, what should I do? Or maybe something telling you like you always were meant for better or more. Like, what was that feeling like, or where did it all begin?
So I guess the question is, how did the Thoughtcast begin? So is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so the Thoughtcast, I don't want to say it happened by accident, but so in the financial firm that I own, if you do a little bit of digging, you can find my financial firm. It's called Karma Financial Group, right? A lot of guys come in to work with us, right? We're in an industry that's really geared towards commission sales. And what happens is we have a platform where we work with leads. So we're able to have people talk to people that are interested in a commission-based business, which is really difficult. Because in a commission-based business, you're typically prospecting. 90% of your work is there. So because we have such an easy inflow system, we have guys that make $5,000 to $20,000 a week with us. In pocket cash. You're talking guys that are 18 to 35, right? When you have a guy that was making $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $60,000, whatever it might be, making that almost in a month, you get something of an ego spurt. I had a lot of young guys that work with me that would start making money. They would buy a new car. They would buy a Rolex. They would go out. They would party. It's a different level of power. There's a difference when you're, old and wealthy. But there's a whole different caliber of it when you're young, you're in shape, you're making money. It's a dangerous combo. So we had a lot of people fail in their personal relationships. And that's where I started coaching them, not only in their personal relationships, but lifestyle, health, fitness, all the above, because they would fall apart. Even though they were so good at business, I would always see them completely just let go of everything else when they started making a lot of money. Money amplifies who you are. And typically, if you're undisciplined, you can become very undisciplined with a larger amount of money. And because there's such an explosive growth in the income that they were making, that's what I noticed. And so Thoughtcast became me coaching my guys that work in the financial firm on not being, foolish with their lifestyles. Eventually, it became such a large platform on the internet, and we opened it up to a lot of other people, and we started coaching people all over the world. We've coached over 1,000 people in 2022 alone, different people that have booked sessions with us, and we've coached them one-on-one. So that's really like how it started. Our marketing team from my marketing company started filming me, and they started putting the content out there.
That's cool. It's weird how shit like that works. I feel like in life, like you said, it kind of just started by accident, but it really makes a lot of sense. Like you said, people start to bring in an income, and they may have came from, whatever walk of life, but came from nothing, and then they really don't know what to do with it, or they're acting, a little foolish and doing things that they normally wouldn't do, just because, like you said, the ego kind of takes over, and you feel a lot more power and than you would have ever before. But I think that's a crazy story, to be honest. I like also with the discipline, I have some written down because there's a clip I saw, and then you talk about like consistency and then delaying gratification, and I think it's cool that you talk a lot about when you're talking about that, how it feeds into all areas of life, I guess. So like that's where the Thoughtcast, I think, is in with this, like you're saying. But with discipline and consistency and delaying gratification, all those mixed together, because the world we live in now is so go, and so like, okay, let me, watch porn, or let me get this dopamine, let me go eat sugar, let me DoorDash. So like, what do you think are some like good habits on building that consistency and discipline in life, so you're not always like, your mind is not always overwhelmed with like, let me get this now, and let me try to get this sort of gratification, or this dopamine level, or serotonin, whatever that is? What are some good habits on building some consistency and discipline in life? Because like we said, once you start building those habits, it really carries over in all aspects of life. It doesn't really matter what it is: relationships, the gym, work, everything.
Yeah, great question. So the first thing that you have to do is understand fundamentally that a lot of things that are good for you typically don't feel good. And you have to understand that you have to distance yourself from feelings. So feelings are they're very prehistoric in nature. Like back in the day, the way that you felt actually had a lot of bearing on your success in life. You felt scared, there's probably an animal coming towards you. Nowadays, we get a bad email, we feel scared. You feel anxiety. And this is not beneficial to us. So it's first off, understanding that your feelings are not necessarily the best indicators of what you need to do in today's world. Back in the day, we didn't have a lot of food available in the microwave and in the fridge, so to speak, for us. So eating a very high like sugar food, like a donut, is not good for us. But back in the day, if you ate like a fruit, it's a large amount of calories, which is good. Our mind and our body are geared towards high density caloric foods. And so even though these were very good for us back in the day, and eating those foods make you feel good in the moment, they're typically not good for you now, because what the body would do is try to stack up calories in preparation for you starving. So this is just an example I'm giving here, but first part is understanding that your feelings are typically not your friends. Your feelings are typically not what's going to make you successful. And, the process of doing something, anything that's really good for you, is probably not going to feel good for you. Like working out is not necessarily going to feel good. Eating the salad instead of the donut is not necessarily going to feel good. And so ultimately, if you do what doesn't necessarily feel good, a lot of times you're going to benefit in the long term of life. And you have to kind of attach yourself into a mindset of taking pleasure in things that are boring or that are not fun, and taking pleasure in the delayed gratification you're getting. So when I eat, I can't eat unhealthy food anymore. It's weird. And it's because when I'm eating like a salad or like a piece of salmon or something, I feel good because I'm like, wow, I'm going to look so much better in the summer. I'm going to feel healthy later. And so it's understanding and very much being aware that delayed gratification is going to have some kind of reward. The second thing I'll tell you is this. This is probably one of the biggest things that people don't do. It's making a schedule, a day-to-day schedule for when you eat, when you sleep, when you do this type of work. It's keeping yourself very busy. You have to be good at regulating yourself and basically being your own boss, because even though you may not be an entrepreneur, even though if you work a 9 to 5, you technically still are your own boss. You control yourself in every aspect. So you have to create a schedule for yourself where you allow yourself breaks and you work in certain areas. And so on a day-to-day basis, I have like 5, 10 things I do on a schedule. And what I do every week is I analyze my efficiency towards that schedule. So there might be days where I have a workout and let's say hypothetically I don't hit it, but then I hit 9 out of 10 things. My efficiency for the day is 90% that day. And so what I do at the end of the week is I multiply those efficiencies, right? 100, 90, 80, whatever it is. And I find out what my weekly score is. And all I try to do is make it a competition to get that better. Now, on a month-to-month basis, I'm really low. I'm like, realistically, I'm like a 10%, 15% efficiency. And that is a really like big strike. Because if you have 10 days where you hit 90% of things, you're getting down to like, 10, 30%. If you do the math on that, you multiply 0.9 times 10, you're getting down very low. And so, it's about increasing your efficiency in the way that you are. You're not a robot. And I put in breaks. I put in times to eat. I put in times to go walk my dog and stuff like that. But a big thing that people don't do is make a schedule. And the third thing I'll say is to be disciplined and consistent is to surround yourself in an environment that is filled with consistency and discipline. So if you're around a lot of people that are not doing what you need to be doing, or they're undisciplined in their physical health, their mindset, you're going to become more like them. If you're surrounded by, let's say you hang out with LeBron James and you move in with him, I guarantee you will probably get in better shape. You'll learn more about basketball and you'll learn a lot more about just being on top of your own stuff, And so it's surrounding yourself in environments because people are products of their environments. But those are 3 major things I could tell you about just becoming a little bit more consistent and disciplined. And I could talk about this for literally, there's hundreds of things that you could do. But these are 3 big ones.
Yeah, I really like the 3 because all those actually talk about things that I also wanted to cover. So when you say like, I feel like it's been a struggle actually because emotions aren't our friends, right? You're saying that. But it's also like we're in a world now where like especially men, I feel like, needs an outlet to show their emotions more. So like, is it more along the lines you're not really suppressing them, but just not you're not really suppressing them. Like you understand when you're in a dark place, but really like those places happen because you're not doing what you should be doing, or you're not fulfilling your purpose or living life to the fullest is basically where we get out with that.
Yeah. So whenever you're not feeling good, sometimes it can be a very chemical imbalance. Like that's rare, right? A lot of people are very quick to say, oh, I'm not getting this neurotransmitter. I'm not getting this hormone. Like it's very rare. Like that doesn't happen all the time. A lot of depression and sadness and that feeling of I'm not good enough comes from your version of success that you imagine for yourself or for your age group or for someone like you is not what you're living right now. So if I'm a billionaire and I lose, if I own $4 billion, right, hypothetically, and my net worth goes from 4 billion to 500 million, they would be depressed. And in theory, you'd be like, we still have $500 million. What's going on? It's because their version of their reality of what they were is not what they're living right now. So even though that $500 million is a lot of money, definitely more than the majority of people in the world, it still would cause that man to feel depressed and to feel not good and to feel very alone. So the first thing is you have to understand what you view. I guess it's in this case, what is your projected or authentic self, right? We'll use your thing here. What is a version of who you want to be? Sometimes that version is too grandiose. And that grandiosity is carved out by social media. Really, social media is a big culprit because we see a young dude. You go on TikTok, you're like, hey, I'm 21 years old and I made $4 million last week. I'm going to show you exactly how. Swipe up on my course. You see all these things where people are literally just flexing this crazy life. And 1% here and there starts getting you in the mindset of like, dude, I should have a Ferrari. Dude, I should have a big house. Dude, I should be dating this girl that I saw on this porn site the other day. I should be having sex like that. And then it creates this mindset. So a lot of young guys, they don't necessarily understand that like, your 20s, your early years are really just you grinding and building out your value because most of the time you have nothing. My early 20s, I had nothing. I was not able to get girls. I was not necessarily not able to get girls, but not able to get the girls that I wanted, that like everyone saw, it wasn't in reach for most guys that age. So you have to be very clear with what your version of reality and success is, and then be very realistic with it and be honest with yourself. Like, is this realistic for me to get right now? Is this something I've learned from social media? Is this something I picked up from other people or rappers or songs? It's been viewed in our culture. You know what I'm saying?
So it's more like I think we talked about this on a couple episodes this season already, and it's more of like a comparison is like the thief of joy. Like you're looking at fucking other people and just like, oh, I should be this or I should do this and I can do this, and then you're not even taking the steps, and then you realize too, like you're saying is, well, once you really like evaluate it, I can't get there overnight. Like I can't be fucking $100 million by tomorrow. Like that is just not realistic. So it's more about, one, not comparing yourself, not looking at all these other people and what they're doing, but then two, evaluating, okay, I can do this, and then taking those steps you implemented, the 3 steps about discipline, and starting with that, setting a schedule and everything like that, and making goals and progress, and then realizing this is the reality I can be in, and then you can have higher goals, but also realize that those things take time. I think that's something you talked about too, which is something you have to be careful about when you do this as well, is that it was called like the reactance phenomenon, and it's creating too high of a standard. So I really like that too, because like you were saying, I feel like when you actually do start taking those steps too, in whatever it is, creating a business or just getting your life together and finding your purpose and becoming your authentic self, people do tend to put on some sort of goal that is way too high to reach. And then, like you said, then they break those rules and break their schedule and everything else and start some of the discipline they built up, because you were talking about how the freedom feels better for them. Like they feel more free by breaking the guidelines and stuff. Just like the example uses in like when parents are putting rules on you as a kid and stuff, like stricter parents, and the kids decide that they like the freedom more, so they start to break those rules and guidelines because it makes them feel better.
100%. Anytime that you're trying to get better in life, it's important to set small, realistic goals for yourself, but also you can aim big. There's nothing wrong in aiming big. There's so many schools of thoughts with this, right? And this is where different things do genuinely work for different people. There's no one track. Here's a successful blueprint for life. It's good to set small goals, smaller goals that you can hit on a day-to-day, on a hour-to-hour basis sometimes even, So I set a lot of small goals. I set a lot of small things that I have to do. And if I hit them, I celebrate. I definitely give myself, some kind of positive feedback. Like I feel good about it, right? It's very much about coaching yourself. But the larger goals are where we lose focus. And yeah, when it comes to parenting and all this, like if you're too hard on yourself, if you're too strict, if you try to create a schedule, like I said back before, and you're so hyper focused on not putting in breaks, like I put in a lot of breaks, then you will not be, you will humanistically, emotionally just fall apart. It won't be good for you. You might be able to get through it like once, but you won't be able to maintain it. So you have to be very understanding of who you are. And when I create new schedules for people, like when I coach people, I don't throw out a crazy schedule like mine. Coaching people is really disappointing people at a rate that they can handle. So there are some people that I can be very difficult on and very harsh on, like, hey, you need to do this hour to hour to hour to hour. But there's some people that are just not ready to take that yet. And when you coach people too hard, I've had mentors in my life where they've been very hard on me and I didn't talk to them for weeks, because I just couldn't take it at that time. But when you build that up, that tolerance up, they're able to better handle it. So you've got to learn how to coach yourself and disappoint yourself at a rate that you can handle. That makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense because, like you were saying, the schedule thing, like it's all about creating a life you want to live and what you want to do. But like in that, like you said, there's breaks. There's, okay, here's my schedule for today, but in that schedule, I have an hour time slot of things I enjoy as well, like really enjoy, like getting out, like you said, either walking your dog, maybe going golfing, maybe, I don't even know, playing catch with the boys, whatever it is, you got to make time for things you enjoy as well in that schedule. But that's still, like you said, the way you weighed it out, I really like it's a grade. So like 90%, you're still grading and hitting that because it was a part of the schedule you made. So you still made the progress, and it's not putting anything in your mind that you failed that day by taking that break or whatever that is. And then the other thing you were talking about with surrounding your people is the Pygmalion effect I think you talked about, and that's just finding your calling / troop, and then like being you. This is how that happens, I would say, is this effect really is being yourself, and that's how you're going to find those people. You're not going to find your troop and your calling by trying to fit in or putting off someone that you're not. And finding that group of people, like you said, is really going to propel you forward, because one, as I've always said, and as we've said on this podcast a lot, doing everything alone is not always the right way or the best way. You definitely need some sort of support system, and you also need, as we say, a mentor or coach in life, whether it's paid or YouTube, whatever, free education, it's everywhere. Or like we said, yeah, coaches are amazing. I get a lot of coaches on here, and that's the reason why, because I believe that everyone needs a mentor or coach in their life. But however you find that, that's, like we said, you can pay, you can get on YouTube, but really finding your group of people. I think that's a hard thing for people to do, because for a long time before I think so many people are lost in who they are, is they're surrounding themselves with the wrong people, and they don't realize that till these people that they're surrounding themselves with are no longer need those people. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you're not bringing value to them, then they will completely like get rid of you, because that's the only thing you were doing for them. They didn't care as much as you thought they did. They weren't as close to you, and they weren't your right people. You were just bringing value to them. Once you stop bringing value to them, they're no longer going to be in your circle. So finding that right circle, you got to find the people that, even when times get rough, and you've talked about this, when times get rough and relationships are hard, friendship or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, you got to find the people that are going to stay there in the bad times as well, not only the good times.
100%. So one of the biggest things that people have trouble with is finding good groups of people to be with. And it's not always easy. Here's the first thing I would tell people to do is, like, not that you should necessarily jump with this or lead with this, but one thing that you can do is isolate yourself for a period of like a week. See who texts you, see who reaches out, see who calls you. And obviously, if you go ghost for a long enough time, people are just going to stop reaching out to you. But you should look at who is reaching out to you and trying to interact with you on a day-to-day basis. Now, that's the first thing, right? And the reason why. One thing I'll say is that when you're very young, when people are very young, like kids, they talk to a lot of different people. Like high schoolers know everybody and anybody, right? As we get older in life, we end up talking to fewer people, but spending more time with them. So we have less people, but we spend more time with them. But when we're younger, we have a lot of people, and we spend very hyper-focused pockets with them. One thing that you should learn to do is it's exactly what it is, being your authentic self in a sense, just being completely who you are. And I don't mean the lowest version of yourself. I mean the best version of yourself. There's a best version of everybody. The most in shape, the most focused, the most disciplined, the most lovable, the most caring, empathetic. That's the version of yourself you need to be. There's a lot of people that may not like me. And there are a lot of people that don't like me for the way I behave. Because I'm a very structured person. I'm a very business person. A lot of the times, if you were to go on vacation with me, I'm going to be working on the downtime of that vacation. I don't ever take off, And for some people, that's very hard to be around because I'm constantly pushing the barriers. But for others, they're like, wow, you're going to work, I'm going to get work. That motivates me to stay busy and to get some stuff done. We're still enjoying ourselves, but we're also getting some stuff done. The truth is, I enjoy working. And people find that crazy. But I know people in my life now that I've carved out that enjoy working, and they're very few. So I spend more time with these few people rather than a large majority of time with the masses, just, 1 minute here, 1 minute there, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So when you have a lot of friends, on a general rule is you have a lot of friends that you're hanging out with and you still don't spend a lot of time with each of them, that's a bad thing, right? Unless you're in a business that you're aggressively networking in, you want to have a few close people that you can talk to that can really build a good relationship with you. Braden, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm listening. My bad.
Okay,
I'm just
cool.
really taking it in.
Yeah, your screen went off. You're good. As long as you can see me.
Yep.
But yeah, the big thing is a lot of people, they struggle to interact, maybe because of social anxiety or maybe because they're just not a social person, to find people. I always recommend people taking each other to coffee. So one thing I do in my city a lot is I take people that I don't necessarily know very well and I take them to coffee and I listen to them first. I'm like, hey, what are you doing in your life right now? What are things that you need help with and how can I help you, right? Even if you're not a coach, you can help people in different ways. And so you provide value first and then you set out what your goals are. And, the best way you're going to find, let's say if you're trying to find a new girlfriend, just by taking a girl out to coffee that you don't necessarily have sexual interest to and becoming a nice person to her, you can say, hey, look, Sarah, I'm single. I'm looking for a girl. Get to know me a little bit. I'm a nice guy. maybe you can set me up with someone that you know that would be a good fit. I'll take her out to dinner, so on and so forth. And that's how you find high quality women, high quality men. It may not just be going after them directly, but going after them in the network that you're in. If you really have a built out network, you can really access anybody in the world. Because if you talk to people that are very networked and that know a lot of people and they have thousands of people, then your network is amplified by their connection as well. So coffee is really good. Not that I'm a big coffee drinker or anything like that. It's just grabbing a water with somebody
Right.
and just having a conversation for 30 minutes and doing that 5-6 times, sometimes a week.
Yeah,
you know?
just something chill. It doesn't really necessarily matter what it is. I think it's just about like being in a place that's kind of comfortable for both people. Like that's just like a comfortable setting, you know, like most of the people, like you said, love coffee or grabbing a water and just, I don't know, going to the park or something, you know, just hanging out and then just talking and actually finding out more about these people and how you can help each other and how you can fit in with each other, whether you guys are friends or they can, like you said, introduce you to another friend or introduce you to another girlfriend, whatever that may be. I can agree. I think that networking is huge. I like how you put that too, like with surrounding yourself with a few people that you're with a lot of time, a lot of hyper focus. You focus on them, but then also like it's also very important to keep network in general for, especially like you said, just friendships, relationships, but business wise, it's important to just reach out to people, like make some sort of connection. You guys don't have to talk every day, but maintaining some sort of little relationship with more people is very important for you. Especially I feel like you in general and myself, just like being in the space we are, like just reaching out and saying, hey, this is what I'm about, or I like that you're saying this, you know, that's right there, base level, trying to create a relationship. And then you never know where that networking can take you. So that's been a kind of an amazing thing here on my own podcast. So, I think the last thing here is just really like when you started your journey and just like everything you've done, like what's that look like? Where does it begin? Where were you at in life? What were you doing? What were you thinking? Did you hit like a low point mentally, or were you always just kind of like, oh, I deserve better, I can do better, and then like you maybe met a mentor, like we said, or met a friend, and finally surround yourself with the right group of people, etc. Like what's the journey look like for you to where you're at right now?
Okay, it's a little bit lengthy, but when I moved to Cleveland, Ohio, out like to come here for finishing my biology degree. You know, a friend of mine, family friend of mine, was moving here, and Cleveland Clinic is a huge medical facility. It's top 10 in the world. They have their number one for heart. So I came down here, and very soon when I came down here, I ended up getting evicted out of my downtown apartment. Right, and I shouldn't have had a downtown apartment in the first place, but I got evicted, right, for having a dog. And it was really difficult because that was a low point in my life. That was like a very, very, number one, I had no place to stay. I had two friends that were really good. Like they were like my lab partners. I just met them and they literally like helped me out so much. I used to work at the gym for the school. So I got showers in there and stuff like that. And at the time I had a girlfriend, or like a girl that I was very interested in. And I found out that she was like cheating on me. We weren't together in her mind, but in my mind, I was very obsessed with her. And so she was cheating on me in a sense in my head, because when I asked, hey, like, can I just stay with you for a little bit and get on my feet? I didn't know her for that long. So that was also like an awkward thing. But yeah, she was out here partying. So while she was trying to go out and party, I was just trying to figure out where I'm going to stay. Huge difference. Young girl in her 20s, attractive girl. And I don't blame her for this. This is not like people are like, oh, she's not a good person. I'm like, this is what she's going to do. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I had no value to bring her. I was struggling, and I was bouncing around two of my buddies' places and obviously staying by myself. And, it was a really difficult time for me. What hurt more than the actual not being in a place was her doing what she did. It crushed me. I don't know why, but it was so painful to me. And then I ended up getting a job from a friend of mine that worked in the gym. He's like, hey, there's a nightclub. You can clean up stuff. You can like pick up bottles. You can take out the trash. And I started getting a job there. And that's when I started being basically cleaning up and then to a bar back pretty quickly. And I worked my butt off there. Like I literally just grinded so hard. And they eventually moved me up. And this was 2015, 2016. Something very interesting happened in 2015, 2016 in Cleveland. The Cavaliers won the national, and the Indians went to the World Series. So we were with like LeBron, Kyrie, Deladova, Tristan. You know, we were with a lot of celebrities, and I noticed these celebrities. I'm like, dude, these guys live another caliber of life in the nightclub and in the bottle service. Every girl wanted them. They could get anything they wanted. I'm like, how do I become like these guys? How do I get to that level? And I noticed the only people that were able to relatively compete with them were guys that owned financial firms. In fact, most of their NBA teams, their sports teams their owners were financial firm owners. They've just invested in equity. So I'm like, okay, I can do that. And so I actually went to an interview for a financial firm, and I looked at the people there, and I see this with respect. They weren't smart. They were just hardworking guys that ran a system and did things that were boring. So I'm like, look, if I can stomach the boring stuff in life and do the stuff that doesn't necessarily make me happy, I can reach levels that are athlete levels. I don't have to play ball, but I can ball out like an athlete. You know, I may not be an athlete, but I can make athlete level money. Right. And if you look at it, financial services makes the most millionaires and billionaires than any other career out there. And that's where I went into it. So I worked in financial services for a year. I remember my first year, I didn't make that much money. I made like under 6, but then, you know, next year I opened my own firm, made over 6. Next year after that, over 7. You know, that's what created a large level of financial stability for me. And that's what most coaches don't necessarily do. They make their income off of coaching, solely off of coaching. They don't not necessarily operate like a businessman like I do. And so I'm able to coach people at higher levels because, number one, I have the income to show for it. And number two, I have the business experience as well. And then I started investing into different businesses. I started putting money here, putting money there. And eventually I pulled a lot of that stuff back because I still have a lot of investments. But, you know, for me, I want to focus on a few things in life rather than a bunch of different things. I thought being a businessman was, okay, I have an ice cream shop. I have an alcohol store. I have a restaurant here. I'm a businessman. I have everything. That was the wrong philosophy, because if you look at billionaires and people that are very successful, they do one thing very, very, very well. So for me, the financial industry created a lot of stability for me, and that's how I really got up on my feet. And I think that's the first area that a lot of guys should start, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be in financial services. It could be in anything, but start creating some kind of financial stability for yourself. Because a young girl like the one that I used to talk to will get anywhere. She was partying with athletes and people, and it broke my heart just seeing the levels that she could climb to, because women are almost naturally born with value, especially if they're young and attractive and presentable, and men are not. And so the first thing I tell guys is to build their financial stability. And that's where I started really understanding who my authentic self was. I would say really around 25 is where I started getting the hang of it. And I'm 28 now. So that's where I was like, okay, I started making a lot of money, and I started to experiment with what works and what doesn't. And over the years, I've refined what I wanted to do, but the biggest thing now is just helping people build their level of financial stability first, like men, and then obviously grow as a person. With women, it's different. You know, women operate in a different mindset where they should focus on presentability, their ability to attract people, and also develop financial stability as well. But a man is evaluated more so on his assets and his resources and his status and his power, where a woman is operated more so on her empathy, her loving nature, her ability to care, her ability to present herself in the first initial superficial interaction. So that's kind of like the journey. I had a very low point. I built up, and trust me, business was never easy either, but it really worked out once I started understanding, like, if I just do things I don't want to do or people don't want to do, these are problems that pay a lot of money to solve. You know, people understand, like, even for the sales industry, like financial services, car sales, you understand a Ferrari. Real estate, you understand a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. But financial stuff is complicated. Nobody wants to talk about it. And that's also what attracted me to it, because it's so boring. And that's why these guys are making so much money. So it was a raw level of fascination, because when I was struggling, I was working with these people like LeBron that were like up here. And so I was like, how do I get there? How do I get to this level? And so there's that level of fascination, you know, that I had. And, you know, maybe if I had come from a better background, or maybe if I didn't go through that time, I wouldn't be so driven to do that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
No, I think it makes a lot of sense, because that's like one of the biggest things. Is it's unfortunate. It's like unfortunate, but a blessing in disguise, because like I've always felt that like if I hadn't gone through the hard times of my life, I wouldn't be where I am either. You know, like I think that's like the biggest thing. People they just continue to spiral, unfortunately, instead of looking at it like, okay, this is my low point. Where the fuck can I take this? Like, we can get out of here. I'm already at the lowest, and I know that I can be so much better. And then that starts to build character, and you becoming more driven as a person and wanting to do more, just wanting more out of life in general, no matter what that is. And then kind of brings you to who you are and figuring out, I like this, I want this, we're going to work here, we're going to do this. And then, like you said, then that kind of builds everything up goal wise. Okay, I start here, I'm going to work hard here, and then I see this, I'm going to work hard at the next thing. And like you said, you can get promotions or whatever the case may be.
Sometimes here's the thing. If you have everything given to you in life, you're almost at a disadvantage because you've never been accustomed to dealing with difficult situations. Whereas someone that has gone through almost a terrible life, there's two ways this can happen. Number one, they can be so broken down where they don't really imagine that they can have success. See, I knew that I could get it because I saw it for myself. I saw people spending tens of thousands of dollars of income. I'm like, okay, this does happen. This is real. There is real money out here, and there's a lot of it. So this is the first thing I saw. It was the belief.
Right.
So I wasn't broken down to a level where I had absolutely nothing, or I was never told I couldn't do something, right? So if you come from a background where you didn't have a lot, but you still have that belief and you know things are out there, you're almost at a very big advantage because you have more why. You have more of a willingness to do certain things. Because someone that has something to fall back on, if you're jumping out of an airplane and you know you have a parachute, you're not going to be worried, you know? And this is a bad example, but like if you jump out of a plane and you don't have a parachute, you've got to like either figure it out or die, you know? And this is a bad example, but like you have to know what you're going to do. Like, you know, you have to have almost no backup. And it's a bad philosophy in a logical sense, but humans are not logical. We are emotional. We are geared by emotional energy. And men and women are both emotional. Everything you do in life is designed to make you happy at some point, whether it's now or later, whether it's eating a donut to make you happy now or eating the salad to make you happy later. And the salad does make you happy now because you associate the delayed gratification with happiness, which is what makes you eat the salad, right? So you have to understand that if you're doing anything, having almost no backup will make you want to work more, and it'll be more emotionally geared towards you. So even when we motivate people, even when we coach people, we focus on emotional triggers a lot more instead of logical things. You know, when it comes to, like, for example, losing weight, I'll give you a great example here. It's about habituation and emotional triggers. So obviously I could tell somebody to go to the gym and just crush some weight and run on the treadmill. But what I do a lot more is I'll tell somebody to go to the gym for a month straight. Just drive there and drive back. You're not even walking in the gym. And that what it does is habituates the process. Artificially restricting somebody from entering the gym. Well, I'm here. Shouldn't I just work out? No, you're not allowed to. And then the second month, go in for 10 to 20 minutes. That's it. That's all you get. Get your workout in and then get out. 10, 20 minutes, your time is done. And it's about the accountability. We have structures in place that allow that to happen. But this is how we've gotten people that would never successful with weight loss or training to lose 40, 50 pounds because they create a habituation, they create a process, and they've created a feedback loop that allows them to get some kind of, you know, positivity with the interaction because they're looking for more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Because James, a coach I had on 2 weeks ago, says the same thing, that it's just about building that habit. You know, it's breaking the barrier and tricking the mind. You know, like it gets in the subconscious mind that even if you didn't work out that day, it's now built into the habit or the schedule that, okay, I drive to the gym today. That's something I always do. Mm-hmm. So then it gets put in your mind that, oh, this is something we always do. This is new. This is normal. It makes sense. And then I think you said something about like in another video how it only takes like 20 hours. The first 20 hours are super hard. Once you get past 20 mm-hmm. hours, it becomes easy. It becomes more normal in the body and the mind. It makes sense of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the biggest thing that people don't start, you know, I'll even say like podcasts, like I think like 97% of podcasts have one episode.
There's only, only 1% gets past the 20 episode mark or something like that.
And it's crazy. And it's like, I tell people this all the time. Like people talk about, oh, how do you have a large podcast and stuff like that? It's like, you just got to put out content. And this is the biggest thing I'll tell you with this. Quantity creates quality. The more you throw a baseball, the better you're going to be at throwing it. So it's never about quality first. A lot of people think like, okay, I have to be good from day one. It's about quantity first. If you look at my old videos, my setup and my audio weren't that good. And so I had to just run with what I was doing and just do what I was doing. Eventually to the point now where we have these crazy microphones, you know, we live like even my podcast setup here, it's in this amazing downtown penthouse. It's a huge place, and there's celebrities and athletes on my floor here. It gets to a point where you get that. But at the beginning, I wasn't using Crazy Mike. I was using my cell phone audio. I was using a basic software. I didn't have editing guys that really ran it and did it aggressively. So quantity creates quality, just putting it there every single day and becoming consistent. Even when you're working out, like your workouts when you first start are going to suck. When you're cooking food, it's going to suck at first. But the more you do it, the better it gets.
Okay. I like that. So like when you first started, I know this is more personal for me, but when you first started the podcast and you're editing clips, like what were you doing? Just taking the best you think you said that episode and putting it out each day, no matter what you're editing it in, finding the easiest way to do it. Kind of like now we have like CapCut, Premiere Pro, how you have everything now to kind of edit. Like we're on Riverside right now. It sets shit up for you base, and then I can just pull that out. But it's really just, like you said, just kind of getting it done.
When you first start, you're really going to have to do a lot of stuff by yourself and just editing it yourself. Then you can start outsourcing the work to other people that can help you, whether it's overseas or whether it's just people that you know locally. And you want to start beginning monetization. Podcasts are very hard to monetize on. Most podcasts don't monetize at all. Very few do. And a big thing I'll tell you that you can have in today's world is you can distribute anywhere, because social media, like you can get on Snapchat, you can get on TikTok, you can get on YouTube, you can get on anything. So I think that people should take advantage of every single platform out there, which is what I did, and finding which one works for you the best. So Spotify, Apple are the ones that hit the hardest for us. Then it's actually TikTok. TikTok's our third. So the TikTok is just more, you can see what we're doing on TikTok more so than Apple and Spotify.
Yeah, for sure.
But so it's about finding which one of those hits, and then you eventually want to get to a point where you're editing at such a high level. You have better audio. You have people that are editing more, and they have the zoom ins, the shakes, the captions, all that stuff. There are a lot of good softwares out there, and we're in an era where we're blessed to have technology. But at first, I didn't even know, like, the topics I started on they weren't all over the place, but they were not as structured as they are now. Like we focus very heavily on relationships in my podcast because of, and even though I'm a business guy, I focus on relationships because I have a structure that I coach people on, and I focus on mentality first, physicality second, finances third, family really the fourth, social circle the fifth, hobbies and recreation as a sixth, and then relationships. And so what I always tell people is to go in this order, right? You focus on your mentality to get yourself to work out, which is your physicality. This is very important, right? Then you get financially stable. Then you get good with your family. Family doesn't have to be your brother and sister. It can be a very, very good friend, to the point where if this guy hurts you or does something really bad or steals money from you, you're still going to have him in your life. It's going to be fine. Like you might be annoyed for a little bit, but they're so close to you. And then you have social circle, hobbies, and then you get into relationships. Most people don't have their physical shape. They're not physically in shape. They don't have their finances in order. They don't have a good relationship with their family, and they jump into a relationship. And what happens is most relationships fail. Most of them fall apart. And when they do fall apart, they completely crash with nothing to fall back on, with no hobbies and recreation to kind of ease their mind up, with no social circle to say, hey, look, it's okay, we're going out, come out with us, with no family to say, hey, come give me a hug, with no financial background to get a coach to get you out of this or to go on vacation or to be able to take time off work, and with no physicality to be able to attract new partners and obviously create the dopamine and serotonin. And so they fall apart in life because they get into bad relationships, bad connections with people. And this happens over and over to young people. So I coach people on getting these things done first and then starting their relationship. And what happens is when you get really good with everything and your relationship starts taking place, then you meet Sarah. And then you take Sarah to go kayaking. That's your hobbies and recreations. You take her to go bowling. You like playing music, so you take her to an orchestral concert. And you start introducing her to your hobbies. Then you like her a little bit more. You have her meet your friends. Brad, I want you to meet Sarah. Ryan, I want you to meet Sarah. Yeah, I really like that girl, dude. She's awesome. Then you introduce her to your family. Then she may become family if she's really good, right? Then she has some access to your finances because you guys are buying a house together and stuff like that. Then you have access to physicality because she's cooking for you. You're eating together. She's allergic to peanut butter. There's no peanut butter in the house, right? It's all a process, but it starts with building this up, and then the relationship moves around in it. Okay. And this is the process that we coach by. And a lot of people just have their priorities wrong. They don't necessarily know where they're going with it, and they jump into relationships too quickly before building themselves up. For men, this is super important because women can jump into relationships really early on. Like they they can get into it, and an 18-year-old girl can marry an NBA athlete. There ain't another backward story like that. Nobody that's 18 and has nothing in his life that's a server at a restaurant is marrying Ariana Grande or Selena Gomez or any celebrity that you might fascinate yourself with. It ain't happening, you know? So that's where men have it backwards. And now we have a lot more education in that area too. Like where people, like other people on podcasts will tell you like, hey, build yourself up financially, build yourself up as a man, because a man's prime comes a lot later in life. You know, men are able to reproduce at a very unlike mutationed rate at a higher age. Like men that are 50, 60 can have kids. Absolutely no issues with those kids. Women, you know, after 25, you're losing 50% of your eggs. After 30, you're losing 90%. And then you have a lot of birth complications after that, typically with weight, typically with age. It just is the nature of biology. And so we have medical advances on a lot of areas. Women over 30 do have very successful births, but you know, the rate of complication is much higher. And so women have a biological clock, men have a more so financial clock. It's different.
I'm going to take that. I mean, yeah, I love it. I mean, that's why I'm not in a relationship, to be honest. I'm working on everything else first. That's been my biggest goal, you know? And I've been just so in the building this up that I'm just not really worried about it. Like, it's not that I'm not, but
how long have you done the podcast for?
This is my technically it's my second year. I started last February.
Okay. Yeah. Big thing is just keep, you know, like there's a lot of large podcasts that have done it for 5-6 years and then they hit it big. Like that, it takes that long. But once you do it and you hit that, you're done. It's over. Your notoriety, your reputation is built up. And a big part of it is also having a team. You know, I know that you had a co-host that got bought out and stuff. Like, it's really about building a team of people that see the vision and can stay in the long run.
Definitely, like, I have a really good group of people around me. We're all creatives in our own way. So, like, we're kind of in different areas. So we help each other where we can. But I am looking for, like, a team that they share the vision, but they can't really help me, like, with, like, editing and all that. You know what I mean? Like, one can help with audio and stuff, but like we're focused in areas of life that we're just like-minded and we do help each other and build each other up. But I'm looking for like also a second team that definitely still shares a vision, but can help me a bit more. That's one thing I've struggled with. I guess I got to keep pushing my network because in my area, it's just not a lot of people like that in general, but we did just start a new group called this Create Camp that it's all local creatives, and the goal is to just help each other in each way. So we'll see where that goes. There's a lot of good minds in there, so that's pretty cool. But
if you can take like random, it could be an 18-year-old girl, it could be a 35-year-old woman, it could be anything. If you take people out just to, hey, let's grab a coffee, let's grab a water, and you just take 30 minutes here, 40 minutes here, and you say, hey, look, I have a podcast, I want to get it big. And I think that you're a smart person, I think you're knowledgeable, I think you know people in the area. Is there someone that you can point me to that could help me in my podcast in any way, shape, or form, whether it's editing, whether it's this, whether it's that? That's how you're going to find people. And number one, you're displaying to this person very openly, like, hey, I have a podcast. You gain a follower there, typically just from interacting with them. And number two, it's like, look, I need this. What can I do to help you in your hairstyling career? And then it's promoting people in different ways, really just social media and word of mouth. So if you meet a 21-year-old girl, for example, just an example here, and she's a hairstylist, you obviously, like me and you might not have a lot of like, we don't need our hairs done by this girl, right? But you can say, look, I know a few girls. I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to let them know. I'm going to pass her information along. Is there any way that you can do the same for me? And that is literally where you're going to start recruiting and meeting good people. And then you let them know what the vision is. Like, hey, we want to do this. I don't want to be the star of the show, but at the same time, I have to run the podcast. Can you help me out here? How many hours a week can you give me? Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 4. And so you just build from there and do as much as you can. And sometimes it's just people will try it out and they'll fall off. But, you know, I had a few good guys from my marketing company that believed in it. They already see my other businesses. And that's one thing that I had as an edge. I've had other businesses that have succeeded. And they were like, yeah, we're going to do this because we believe in what you say in your businesses. And then when the success started coming, I mean, more and more. Nowadays, we have a lot of people that are bought into our brand and they'll help us very freely. And it's easier now. But in the beginning, it's always just you being like the employer. It's like having a gas station by yourself. You're the gas station attendant. You're the janitor. You're the clerk. It's tough, you know.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It is. I mean, we've talked about this on a different episode. Like, I love it and I love the grind. And sometimes I think I don't appreciate it, but I know that like when I'm gone, like when it's past this point, that I will look back and kind of miss this kind of shit. But also it is hard because, you know, like, one, I'm editing the podcast, I'm lining up guests, I'm hosting the podcast, trying to find topics, and then on top of it, I run the main brand. It's all Authentic Vibes only, but then we had like this sub brand, which is the podcast, and then I do like all the clothing design and everything for that too, because that's really what I wanted when I first started, was just design the clothing and then like handle all that stuff. But it's actually kind of weird. It started backwards. I got asked to do the podcast by my co-host, but then I was like, I don't want to just do a podcast. I want to make this a whole brand, like a lifestyle, way of life. And then I focused on the clothing, and he was doing like a lot of the podcast stuff. I was just editing it, and then he would do like, you know, get guests and all the other shit. But I do fucking love it. That's I think that's the thing, is like, if I didn't love it, I wouldn't be doing it. Like it is, and I know it's hard and shit like that, but I just love it so much that yeah, I just enjoy it. Like I'm ready. I would love the extra help and shit like that, but I still love doing it, you know?
100%, man. I'm happy to help in any way. Like, I always look at, there's so many people that hit me up like, yeah, I'm trying to start a podcast, and they just don't put out their first episode. They may put one out and they never touch it again. And it's good to see what you're doing, man. It will pay off. I promise you it will pay off. You really got to just get a team. And some of it is money. You know, you have to dump a little bit of money into like video editing and video editors, and maybe a nicer camera for certain things. Like, you know, it just is what it is. But when it pays off a lot. Like, it's big. And a lot of it is sweat equity. It's just you putting in the time and you creating the content. And I know how hard it is for what you're doing. Like finding people, sending out stuff, DMing people, like trying to get people on, hosting it. Like you're really doing a lot. Make sure you make time to generate income in some kind of job that's efficient for you, to where you can dump in and say, hey, look, I need you to edit this. Here's $200. Here's $100. It's going to make your life a lot easier. You're going to have to dump some money into the brand.
Definitely. That's like, I still work a 9 to 5. Technically, my parents own a restaurant, and I work there when I can. Well, usually 4 or 5 days a week, but I just kind of renegotiated my contract to get better, even more pay, you know. But like you said, I'm just taking that, basically paying whatever bills I got and then throwing it back in here until I'm seeing profit. That's just been like, I think that's been the hardest part, is I'm not expecting the money, but like when you're not profiting at first, it's like, damn, then you just keep putting money in. But I'm not wavering, you know, like I know it can come. I know, like you said, I know I've been working hard and I've been trying everything I fucking can. So at some point it's going to pay off, as long as, like we talked about already, consistency. I stay consistent and disciplined. It's going to pay off for me.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah.
Well, I really fucking appreciate you coming on, for real. I say this, I think, with most guests, but for real, I'm very grateful for the kind of guests that I get on, and I'm grateful that you answered and told me to message your manager, and we got this all set up. But it's just, even though like I don't have the viewership and shit yet, I don't, like, I love it, and it's just crazy to me too that what kind of guests I've had on here, like the guests that have said yes, and it's cool that you and the other guests like are so like willing to be on it and help other people out and shit. It's awesome, especially because I'm just a small podcast, you know. I get like 100 viewers, that's it. So
it's because we started from the same place that you have. Like, when you get people that say yes into certain things like this, it's because I was at the same area that you were at. I know exactly where it's at, and I know how much it can help a podcast if you get, you know, quality guests on. Like, I know how important it is. So one thing I also pride myself on is I always respond to everybody. Like, I always will respond to anyone that DMs me. It just takes me a little bit of time, but I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm too good to respond. Like, I get 100 plus DMs a day. I schedule hours to respond and connect with people, like, as quick as I can, to say, hey, you go. And I have a team of people built out where I say, you talk to this person, talk to that person, message me here, or book with this link or something like that. And so I'm more efficient because I've created a funnel. But also, when I see people like you message me and you're following up and stuff, for sure, dude. Like, if you're serious, we're serious.
Yeah, I really I appreciate it. I was really looking forward to this episode. Sorry if it started a little uncomfortable. Maybe sometimes it does. It just, I got to get, like, you know, it's kind of like starstruck for me, to be honest. Like, I've been following you and these other guests, and it's like, dude, this is fucking crazy that I got these people on. And also, it's like, tell everyone I'm on here, and I'm like trying to take in everything you're telling me too, because like, as much as I'm trying to help people, and that's why we had the podcast, like, you guys are teaching me more than I know already too, you know. So it's incredible to have you guys on and not just help me, but help my guests too.
For sure, man. You can always reach out to us, reach out to Gabe. We're always available, and we could do this again too.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, because I had so much shit written down. I want to talk. I think I would like to do another podcast episode, like more on like the dating aspect, for sure.
For sure, man. Just let me know.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks so much, man. You enjoy the rest of your day. I gotta run, get to work, and then come back and start making the clips for this later.
Okay, man. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one.
Later. Yep.
A free falling like I'm skydiving. Teacher and student, two worlds colliding. I love music, I don't abuse it. Take your crafts and you infuse them. Say you're normal, that's kinda weird. In deep thought, stroking my beard. Head of the table, saying my cheers. Ended up grateful for all the tears. Ready to grind for years. Been loving what's in